we said all, so we have the customer field, the product field, status, and we can actually submit that data. So let's actually process this information and save the item in our database. So before I do that, let's just go ahead and actually submit the form and see what we get. So in here, we're sending this as post data, and I'll just move this to the right. So we're sending this as post data. So what I'm going to say in our view is if request dot method. So we're just using this request right here. So if the request is equal to post, so it's either a post or a get request, and by default it's a get request. Let's go ahead and print out request dot post, and I'm just going to say printing post just so we can see this. And because our form is being submitted to the URL of the current template. So our current URL is create order. So when I submit it, it's going to send it back to the same URL and send us to this view. Instead of a get method, we're going to have a post method. So if I save this and I'll refresh it, let's go ahead and actually see what happens. So let's open up our command prompt and refresh that. And let's just set up some data here. And we'll say out for delivery and hit submit. So that data was just sent to this URL, which sent us to this form as a post method. And what we got back was this CSRF token right here. And then we can see that we have the customer's ID. And what we got back was this. Just set up some data here and actually see view. Instead of a get method, we're going to have a post method. So if I save this and I'll refresh it, let's go ahead and add to this view. Instead of a get method, we're going to have a post method. So if I save this and I'll refresh it, set up some data here, and we'll say out for delivery and hit submit. So that data was just sent to this URL, which sent us to this form as a post method. And what we got back was this CSRF token right here. And then we can see that we have the customer's ID, the product's ID, and the status of out for delivery. So that just sent our data to that view. So what we can do now, because that data is being sent, and I'll just comment this out, we can do this now. So if the data is post data, we actually want to do something with this form. So what we can do now is say form is equal to order form, and now we can just pass in that request data. So that's why model forms are really cool, because we can actually just send that data into the form, and as long as the request.post data is the same as what the order form is supposed to handle, we can just throw that in there and then do if form dot is underscore valid. We can just save it. So if the form is valid, let's just do form dot save, and the model form will actually handle the process of saving this information into the database. So the form is saved now, and before we test this out, I actually want us to redirect back to our main template. So in here, we'll do one more import, and we'll just do, so this is Django shortcuts, and then next to render, we'll do a comma, and we'll do redirect. And now what we can do is say, instead of returning us back to that same template, let's do return redirect and send us back to that main template. So to our dashboard. So we'll just use that URL pattern. And now if we submit a form, here we'll just, we'll see all of our orders. So we have these orders here. So I'm going to create one more. So let's go to create order, and we'll read the count. So our total orders is 5. So just to see that it's being created, we'll give one more to John Doe, and we'll set this to dishes, and we'll say it's been delivered. So if I hit submit now, the order is processed. We see one more order in our database, and we see that order appear here. So that data was sent here, the form submitted it, and sent us back to this view here, to that home view. So that's how we handle that. And now we can actually, hey guys, so in this video, we're going to add some create up of the current template. So our current URL is underscore valid, shortcuts, and then next to render, we'll do a comma, and we'll do redirect. Mention pretty similar here. So we call it PK there. So update order. and we'll just copy the same stuff here, and let's just create the update view really quick, and we'll keep the naming convention pretty similar here. So we'll just do function, and we'll just call it update order, and we'll just copy the same stuff here, and we'll return this here. So we'll just do return, and we'll make the context, and we'll also pass in a form, and you'll see what's different in a second, but I just want to create that URL path first. So let's throw that in. And now in our URL pattern, we're also just going to copy and paste this and change up a few things. So we'll make some space so we can see everything. And in here, we'll just do update. And we need to make this dynamic. So if you were watching this from the last videos, you'll understand how we're doing this. So it's a string, and then we'll just call this primary key. And we're going to use this view here. So update. And now in our view, we just want to pass in that primary key. So we call it PK there. So because we called the PK, we can throw that in, and let's just link it out and see what's happening. So in our dashboard, we'll create one more link. So in all these orders, we're going to create the link to that page now. So we'll just use that template tag, URL update underscore order, and we'll just pass in the ID outside of that quote there. We'll just do order.id. And make sure everything's working. And let's give this a test. So back to our dashboard. If we do barbecue grill update, okay, so we're being taken to that page now. So what we want to do now is pre-fill this form. So to do that, I'll just go back here. To do that, let's query the item from the view. So we'll just do order is going to equal to order.objects.get, and the ID is just going to be that primary key that we passed in. And now what we can do is in our order form, we can do to instance. So this is going to be the item instance that's going to equal to back here. To do that, let's being taken to that page now. So what we want to do now is pre-fill this form. So to do that, I'll just go back here. To do that, let's query the item from the view. So we'll just do order is going to equal to order.objects.get, and the ID is just going to be that primary key that we passed in. And now what we can do is in our order form, we can do instance. So this is going to be the item instance that we're going to fill out in that form. So order form instance is going to equal to that order. And now if we go to that page, we should see a pre-filled form. So order form instance is going to equal to that order. And now if we go to that page, we should see a pre-filled form. So barbecue grill, and there we go. So we can actually change this information and then save it. So let's go ahead and fill out that save process, and then we'll actually save it and update it. So the save method is actually going to be almost exactly the same as this right here. So we can just paste this in. So right here. And the only difference here is going to be this right here. So if we just pass in request.post, it's actually going to create a new item. So what we need to do is throw in that instance again. So we'll do instance. So we're sending that new post data into that instance of an order. So if we pass that in, this should save it. It should save it as that instance and then redirect us back to that template. So if we go here, and I'll just update the last item. What did I do here? Oops, did something there, and probably just need to fix all these. So instance is going to be order, and give me a second just to fix this right here. Okay, so I just removed that I right there, so that should work now. Okay, so let's update this one right here. So dishes delivered. Let's just update the status to pending. Let's say we made a mistake and we needed to reprocess that order. So I just saved it and the status was set to pending. So what just happened here is we sent it to the same form. So in order form, because we didn't pass in a URL, that URL is being sent to this one now instead of that create order. So it just takes that same URL, sends us as a post method to this view, and then it takes in that post data, sends it into the form, updates this instance right here, saves it, and redirects us. So the last thing we need to do is just delete an item. So to delete an item, I'll create a new template and a new view, and this should actually be a very simple concept to understand. So I'll just create a template for that, and we're gonna call this delete.html, and I'll just quickly inherit from the main template. So we'll just copy this from the order form and we'll close it out. So what we want in this template is to ask the user a quick question before they confirm their action. So we want to ask them if they want to actually delete that item and give them the option to cancel it. So I'll just do the paragraph tag here and I'll paste in my question. So I'm going to ask the user, are you sure you want to delete? And then we'll list out that item name. And underneath there, we're going to have two buttons, and one will be to confirm the action and one will be to cancel. So this form is going to first send some post data if we're confirming the action, or just a link back to whatever page they came from. So the method is going to be post, and we're going to create the first one, which is going to be a link, and this is going to say cancel. So we don't want to do it, and cancel will just send us back to where we came from. And this link, we're going to send us back to that home template right now. So we'll just do URL, and then we're going to do whatever I call that here. So I think I called it home. Yeah, so we called it home. So we're going to send it back. And if we want to confirm it, we're just going to use the input field and confirm the action and send the data back to here. So we'll do submit, and the name of that will be confirm. And then we'll just create a URL or a view, and let's see what this looks like. So in this case, we're going to do delete order, and we'll pass in the request. And we're also going to need to pass in a primary key because we need to delete a specific item, and we'll return render here. And then we'll just pass in a request, and the template is now accounts/delete.html. So I'm going to pass in the context, and we'll render this out. So we'll just prep this, and in our views or our URLs here, I'm going to copy this update order and change some names. So we'll do delete, and we'll just confirm these. So I'll copy that, paste that in here, and delete. Okay, so let's link this out in our dashboard and see what we have so far. So in our loop here, we have our update button, and I'm just going to copy this and create some spacing here. And in this link, we're going to throw in delete. So we'll just change this to delete, and we're passing in the ID there. So that's delete. Okay, so now we can see the page. So if I refresh this, if I go and press barbecue grill, one thing I actually did forget to pass in really quick is in our view, because we're going to reference an item, we need to pass that item into the view. So let's use this convention here, and we'll grab the order, and we'll throw that in here, and then we'll do here, and we're passing here, and in this link. Okay, so now we can see see the page. So if I refresh this, if I go and press barbecue grill, one thing I actually did forget to pass in really quick is in our view, because we're going to reference an item, we need to pass that item into the view. So let's use this convention here, and we'll grab the order and we'll throw that in here. And then we'll do, because we call the item in the template, we're going to pass it in as item, but that's going to be the order. So now if I go to that template and we'll go to barbecue grill, we're going to pass it in as item, but that's going to be the order. So now if I go to that template and we'll go to barbecue grill, it's going to say, are you sure you want to delete? And right now it's just the object number. So we actually need to change this in our model field. So I'm just going to quickly update that. So we're actually right now it's just the object number. So we actually need to change this in our model field. So I'm just going to quickly update that. So we're actually getting back a name. So we'll copy this method, and down here for the order, we'll say product dot name. And now we'll see that actually referenced out here. So are you sure you want to delete the barbecue grill? So if we press cancel, we're sent back to this page. If we confirm, we should delete that item. So I need to pass in a CSRF token in here into the form. So because it's a form, let's just go ahead and pass that in. So we'll do CSRF underscore into the form. So because it's a form, let's just go ahead and should delete that item. So I need to pass in a CSRF token in here into the form. So because it's a form, let's just go ahead and pass that in. So we'll do CSRF underscore token. And we'll write our logic in our view here. So what we're going to do here is, and we'll write our logic in our view here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say if request, so we're sending it as post data in our template. So that's post. And the action is just going to be that same URL. So because we're only using this for one page, I'm going to do the URL tag here, and we'll just do delete, and I called it order in my template. So we'll use that, and that'll be delete order, and we'll pass in the item ID. So if I pass in the item ID, so item.id, and I think that should work. If not, I'll just completely clear that URL. So if the request.method is post, so post, what we're going to do is we're going to grab this order and we're going to delete it. So we'll do order.delete, and then we're going to return back to our main template. So we're going to, or to our home page. So we're going to redirect back to that dashboard. So let's try this, and that URL path should work. So if I hit confirm, that just deleted it. So let's delete dishes now. Confirm, there we go. And we'll delete it one more. And there we go. So we're seeing our count go down and we're deleting the items. So all I'm gonna do now is actually make these buttons right here linked out from our customer page, and then we'll just style it and prep it for the next part of the series. So that handles our CRUD functionality. So if you're part of this series, I'll style this template and then we'll be ready for our next video where we're going to talk about Django filters. So we'll be able to search items from our customer page. So I'll just go back here, and in our customer page, we'll just take some of these links. So we'll actually go to our dashboard and copy these two and go to our customer page. And now we can just change these names. So we'll just paste in those two, and then we can reference them out from our customer page. So if I go here now to our customer page, we can hit delete. Are you sure you want to delete dishes? And update. So perfect, everything's working. Let's just style the pages now. So let's start with the delete page since we're on that right now. What we're gonna do is throw in some Bootstrap, and I'm gonna copy and paste here. So in my delete template, we're gonna create a row around that. So break tag, a row, column, and a card. And I wanna close that out. Out with 3 divs. So we're going to close it here so I can indent these and paste in that right there. So oops. So there we go. So that's our row, our column, and then our card, and our delete template should look a little better. So if I press delete, are you sure you want to delete the dishes? Now we can add some button styling here. So for this, we're going to use, for the confirm, we're going to do class, and that'll be danger. So btn dash danger. We want that to be red. And to go back, we want that to be yellow. So we'll do class is going to be btn and then btn dash warning. And that should look a little better now. Okay, so perfect. We can cancel. And now I just want to style this page a little bit. We're not going to style these form fields, but in that order form, I do want to create a row so that looks a little better. So we'll just go back to that and order underscore form. We'll just paste in some more Bootstrap there. So we got 3 divs and we just need to close these 3 out. So I'll indent this and just manually create all three. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And we'll make these indented. Okay, so that should look a little better. Okay, perfect. So that does it for this video. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, so in this video, hey guys, so in this hey guys, so in last in really quick is in our view, because we're going to reference an item, we need to confirm. There we go, and we'll delete it. So break tag, a row, column, and a card. And I want to close that out with 3 divs. So we're going to close it here so I can indent these and paste in our column, and then our card and our delete template should look a little better. So if I press delete, are you sure you want to delete the dishes? Now we can add some button styling here. So for this, we're going to use, for the confirm, we're going to do class, and that'll be danger. So btn, btn-danger, btn-warning. And that should look a little better now. Okay, so perfect. We can cancel. And now I just want to style this page a little bit. We're not going to style these form fields, but and order underscore form. We'll just paste in some more bootstrap there. So we got 3 divs. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And we'll make these indented. Okay, so that should look a little better. Okay, perfect. So that does it for this video. If you're not subscribed already, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video. Should look order btn, that right there. So we're going to talk about Django filter, so we'll be able to search items from our customer page. So I'll just go back here, and in our customer page, we'll just take some of these links. So we'll actually go to our dashboard and copy these 2, and go to our customer page, and things working. Let's just style the pages now. So let's start with the delete page since we're on that right now. What we're going to do is throw. Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to be showing you how we can create objects with the parent object already attached to it. So in our example, our relationship between a ball and a customer as a parent-child relationship should be created directly from the customer profile and not from a form where we have to select the customer. So in our case, what I want to do is be able to go to a customer profile and hit place new order and be able to create the order with the customer information already pre-filled. So in this case, I want to be able to select an order, save it, and in the back end, this will save to this customer. So we're first going to do this. And then what I'm going to do is use something called Django inline form sets that allow us to create multiple attached to it. So in our example, our relationship between a ball and a customer as a parent-child relationship should be created directly from the customer profile and not from a form where we have to select the customer. So in our case, what I want to do is be able to go to a customer profile and hit place new order and be able to create the order with the customer information already pre-filled. So in this case, I want to be able to select an order, save it, and in the back end, this will save to this customer. So we're first going to do this, and then what I'm going to do is use something called Django inline form sets that allow us to create multiple orders in one form and not have to manually save each item. So if I select these 4 items and save, we're going to notice that 4 new items were added, and if we go to Peter's profile, here they are. So that's kind of a cool little feature, and I had a couple requests for this, so I figured it's going to be worth it to add it to this series. I wasn't going to do it originally, but there was enough demand for it, and I figured it'll help you guys. So let's go ahead and start this. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is actually just remove this button here. So if we open up our dashboard.html file, it's right above the orders table. So we can just take out that link and let's save and refresh and make sure it's gone. Okay, perfect. So now what we can do is update. So we can just take out that link and let's save and refresh up our dashboard.html file. It's right above the orders table. So we can just take out that link and let's save and refresh and make sure it's gone. Okay, perfect. So now what we can do is update our views and our URLs.php and make sure it's gone. Okay, perfect. So now what we can do is update our views and our URLs.py file. So our URL is actually going to look a lot like this update order URL. So currently we just have a solid URL and we don't pass any parameters. So what we're going to do here is throw in a primary key. So instead of getting the ID of the order, we're going to get the ID of the customer. And that's our name to the URL because we're going to reference that in a second. And in our create order view, we're going to pass in the primary key of the customer. So we can only access this view and URL with an instance. So we're going to do customer is going to equal to customer dot objects dot get. And let me fix that. And now we can get the customer by the ID and pass in that primary key here. And I can link out to this page now from the customer dashboard. So we'll open that up so we can see it. And instead of place order, we're going to do create new order from that. So we'll just change this to place order. And I think I actually added it in earlier. So, oh, it already says place order. So it was originally delete order. I just must have updated that. So we'll just change the color really quick to some sort of blue. So it'll be the Bootstrap blue. And now we can link out to it. So let's go ahead and pass in that new URL. So we're going to use the template tags here, and we're going to do URL single quote create underscore order, and we'll pass in the customer ID. So customer.id, and we're able to reference this because when we render out the customer template, it's passed in right here. So let's go ahead and refresh that and click that link. So if we go to place order, we get the original form where we pass in the customer ID. So customer.id. And we're able to reference this because when we render out the customer template, it's passed in right here. So let's go ahead and refresh that and click that link. So if we go to place order, we get the original form where we still have to select a customer. So the first thing we're going to do is set an instance. So this form right here, because we've already selected a customer, what we're going to do is pass in an instance of the customer. And this is why we queried the customer here. So now we can do initial is going to equal to, and we'll just pass in a dictionary. So we're going to set the value of the customer parameter. And for anybody that's not part of this series, I'll just pull up the models really quick. And the order has a reference to the customer series. I'll just pull up the models really quick. Value of the customer parameter. And for anybody that's not part of this series, I'll just pull up the models really quick. And the order has a reference to the customer attribute or the customer model. So right here, and sorry for those of you that have already seen this, is a little repetitive, but just want to make sure everything's covered. So the instance of the customer attribute is going to be this customer here. So we'll throw that in. And now I should see that in my form. Perfect. So it's already Peter. So if I go to John Doe and place an order, the instance is going to be John Doe. So now when I actually save this form, it'll actually hold those values, so I no longer have to manually select a customer. So let's go ahead and place a few orders. So I'll just do barbecue grill, and we'll set that status to pending, and go back to John Doe's profile, place another order, and this one we'll set to pending again, and we'll do dishes. And now we're actually seeing items being added to John Doe's order or profile directly from his page, so we're not having to select the information. So now let's actually create the inline form sets where we can place multiple orders from this customer's profile. So to get started with form sets, we actually need to make a quick import into our views.py file. So up here under HTTP response, I'm going to do from Django.forms import inline form set underscore factory. And what form sets are basically a way for us to create multiple forms within one form. So I'm going to copy this and actually create the first instance. So in our create order view here, we're going to do order. This is going to be our variable name. So order form set. So capital O, capital F, and capital S. And that's going to be equal to that import that we just made. And into inline form sets, we need to first give it the parent model and the child model. So it's going to have the references from order to customer, and we're going to have multiple orders. So we need to tell it which fields do we want to allow for the child objects. So I want to allow product and status. So we're going to do fields, and that's going to be equal to product and status. And now that we've created the instance of the form set, we actually need to create the actual form. So I'm going to comment out form and call it form set now. So we're going to do form set, and that's going to be equal to that initial setup. And in here, all I'm going to do is pass in the instance of this customer. So now that we threw in the parent, we can actually reference that model. So we're going to do instance and equal to customer. So now what I need to do is change up how we pass it into our template, and then the name of the template, and that's going to be not customer but form set. And in our template here, order form, I'm going to change that to form set. And in our template here, order form, I'm going to change that to form set. And let's go ahead and is change up how we pass it into our template, and then the name of the template, and that's going to be not customer but form set. And in our template here, order form, I'm going to change that to form set. And let's go ahead and try that. Okay, perfect. So it's a little ugly now, but we're seeing multiple form set. And let's go ahead and try that. Okay, perfect. So it's a little ugly now, but we're seeing multiple forms now. So I'll actually render these out in a different way. So I'm going to do, it's actually a list right now. So I can do, let me just do that loop template tag. So for form in form set. and I'm just going to render out each form individually. So I'll just change that to form and just go ahead and close this off. So we'll just do end for. And those should be styled. So I actually want to create some kind of line break. We'll throw in the HR tag there. And there we go. So we're seeing our initial products and 3 additional products with that. So if we actually go ahead and add these, I actually won't process this now. So I need to go ahead and change up how the request gets handled. But we'll actually be able to add multiple products. So because of the way I'm doing this, it's actually going to give us a little error here. So let me go ahead and just process that, and I'll show you the error because a lot of people are having this. So we're going to get form set, and we're going to throw this down here, and we're going to change that and change that to form set, and also pass in the request.post. So we'll do request.post, and if form set is valid, and it's actually this easy. So if form set is valid, go ahead and save it. So right now, if I save this, it's actually going to give me an error, and I just want you to be familiar with this. So if you see management form data is missing, it's because of the way we're rendering it. So if we render this without the loop and just output the forms, it would work just fine. But because we're doing that, we need to add one more little thing in that loop so it knows to save each form individually. And I'm just going to copy and paste this, and in our loop, or just above our loop, I'm gonna say formset.management form, and that just sends the data in a different way. So if I actually go ahead and go through this process, so add in barbecue grill and set that to pending, and dishes, and we'll do pending for that too, and submit that. That should work fine. So those items were just added. So what I want to do now is actually show you how we can change the amount of items that get displayed. So formset.management form, and that just sends the data in a different way. So if I actually go ahead and go through this process, so add in barbecue grill and set that to pending, and dishes, and we'll do pending for that too, and submit that. That should work fine. So those items were just added. So what I want to do now is actually show you how we can change the amount of items that get displayed. So I first want to take out the initial items. I don't want this to show up here. I want it, we can change the amount, submit that. That should work fine. So those items were just added. So what I want to do now is actually show you how we can change the amount of items that get displayed. So I first want to take out the initial items. I don't want this to show up here. I want it only to be new, and then how we can set how many tables get displayed. So, or how many form options get displayed. So right here in our initial form set factory, I can do extra, and then I can set the value. So if I wanted 10 different fields, I can do that, and there we go. So we can have as many as we want. And in order to hide this right here, all I have to do is throw in something into this initial instance right here. So I'm going to do query set, and that's going to be equal to order.objects.none. And that's basically saying if we have objects there, don't reference them, just let it all be new items. So order, something went wrong here. Give me a second to figure this out. Oh, and I did object instead of objects. I always forget that. So now if we do that, we're not going to have that reference. So that item is obviously still in there, but we can go ahead and just add multiple items and save them. So that's how we're able to remove the instances, and that covers it for this tutorial with creating objects with parent instances and form sets. Thanks for watching, and in the next video, we'll actually get to my Django filter series. I was going to get to that with this video, but I thought this one would be more important to throw in before we get to that. All right, guys, so in this video, we're going to be building a multi-parameter search filter using the Django filter package. So this is going to make our tables very dynamic and allow us to search in a whole bunch of different ways. So I want to show you a quick demo, and in this example, I'm going to search for all products with the value of futon, and I want to narrow this down and search for all products with the value of futon and the status of pending. So you can see that I'm chaining my search down, and I can do this by multiple model attributes. So I can do things like contains matches, which let me find something that has the value of only a few letters. So in this example, we have this note, and I'm going to start with a HE. And if I narrow this down to hello W, you can see that my search is finding values based on what contains what I'm typing in. So we're able to do things like that, do things like date range matches, and so on. So this is a very cool library that we're going to start with, and we're going to run a quick pip install and actually put this into our installed apps here and start working with this. So go ahead and open up your command prompt. And if you don't already, go ahead and run pip install Django-filter. And I already have this, so it's going to tell me I'm okay, but go ahead and let the install run. And once that's complete, open up your project and go to settings.py. And in here, we just need to let installed apps know about this new package. So we're going to do Django_filters. And once we have that, we can actually create a file called filters.py. And it's going to be very similar to forms.py if you're following the models video. It's very similar to filters.py, and it's going to be very similar to filters. And once we have that, we can actually create a file called filters.py, and it's going to be very similar to forms.py if you're following the models video. It's very similar to model forms. So in our app called accounts, we're going to create a file called filters.py, and we're going to be building a filter based around a model. So it's going to be a lot like a model form again. That's going to build a filter form for us based on all of these attributes. So our model is going to be order. So in filters.py, go ahead and run this import really quick. So start with import Django_filters, and that's that library we just installed. And go ahead and import your model. So from dot models, import, and we're just going to import all of them. So we're going to do star, and that's because models and filter are in the same directory there. And now let's build a Python class that's going to build a filter for us. So we're going to do class, and we're going to call our filter order. So the model name and filter, and then you can actually call it whatever you want. This is just a naming convention I like. So order filter is going to inherit from Django underscore filters dot filter with a capital F and set. That's going to be a capital S. So that's our class, and now we're going to do class meta, and we need a minimum of 2 attributes. So the first one is the model that we're going to be building a filter for, and that's going to be this order model right here. And we're going to build a fields attribute, and that's basically saying which fields do we want to allow. And for now, we want to allow all of them just so I can show you what the form looks like. So we're just going to say underscore underscore all underscore underscore. So now in our views, we can go ahead and import this. So I'm going to move this to the right so we can see it. Oops. And let's import the filters. So we're going to do from dot filters import order filter. And now that we have that, let's go down to the view that we want to render this out with. Order filter. And now that we have that, let's go down to the view that we want to render this out with. So it's going to be in our customer page, and I'm going to quickly turn on the server just so we can see everything. So Python manage.py run server. And I also closed out that project that I started the tutorial with. I just wanted to use that as a demo reference. So let's make make sure everything's refreshed, and let's go to Peter Piper. Actually, let's go to John Doe because he has more products. So we're going to search this customer here. So in the customer template, and we're going to call the variable my filter, and that's going to be a capital F. And now we can use the filter we just imported. So again, very similar to model forms. So order filter, let's render this out in our template now. So I'm going to pass it into context. And I'll explain, I'll first render it out and then I'll explain what's actually happening here. So let's just pass this in. And now in our template, we can render this out just like we would any other form. So let's go ahead and open up customer.html, and that's where my page is. And right here is where we're going to build that. So I already pre-built a form, so I'll create some space here, and we can pass in a filter. And right here, go ahead and open up customer.html, and that's where my page is. And right here is where we're going to build that. So I already pre-built a form, so I'll create some space here, and we can pass in a filter with the template tag here. So I can do this template tag, the two curly braces, and I called it my filter, so we can pass it in like this. And I'll actually pass it in blank like this, and then we're actually going to style it a little bit. Whoops, something went wrong here. Oh, that's right. So I need to call it myFilter.form. So there's a little bit of a different convention in how we're calling this. And now I should have it. So what we're seeing here are all the attributes of our model, and this is a form, but this is meant to actually search our model and actually render these down. So let's go ahead and actually perform a query and process this information. So we're actually going to have to configure our view a little bit more, so it's actually going to render these orders down. So the order filter is going to take in request.get. So we're actually going to send request data to this view, and it's going to take in a query set .get. So we're actually going to send request data to this view, and it's going to take in a query set, and the query set is going to be these orders here. So it's going to take in this, we're first going to query all the orders. We're going to throw them into this filter, and then based on what that request data is, we're going to actually filter this data down. So we're going to throw in our query set, and then we're actually going to rebuild that variable. We can change the name. I'm going to keep it the same. So orders is now going to equal to myFilter.QS. So myFilter.querySet. So basically what's happening here is this data gets rendered, thrown into the filter. If we have any parameters, it cleans it, it filters it down, and then we remake that variable with the filter down data. So this is actually supposed to be orders. And let's actually perform a search right now. So let's go ahead and test this out. So if I want to search by product, so let's go ahead and search every item with the attribute of dishes. So if I do this, you can see our data got filtered down. So that GET request was passed in right here. So we can see that the product, because it's a parent-child relationship, it passed in the ID. But if this was anything else, it would be an actual name. So let's try this with status. So all orders with the status of pending. In this case, we're not going to filter anything because they're all pending, but you'll notice status equals to pending. So this data right here gets sent to our view. Our view passes it into that filter, filters down that query set, and renders it out. So that's our basic filter, but there's a few issues we have with this. So if I pull this up, right now, there's no way of actually changing up this information. So first of all, I don't want the customer because we're already on the customer page. So I want to take this out. And I also want to be able to start typing in an attribute and searching data down. So I'm sure we've all seen this where we're on a page and as we start typing, the data already starts getting filtered. So we're not going to necessarily do that, but what we are going to have is the ability to type in part of a search, hit the search button, and then filter data that contains that. So let's start with date match. So we're going to customize our form a little bit. So in filters.py, I'll open this up here. And now we're only going to be working within here. So the first thing I want to do is add in a date range filter. So we need to run a quick import, and we're going to do from Django _ filters import date filter. So capital D, capital F. And in here, what we're going to do is first exclude the customer attribute and the date because we're going to customize this. So if I do exclude, I can make a list right here and list in all the attributes we want to exclude. So we want to exclude customer and date created. And again, we're excluding this because we're going to customize it. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's how we're able to exclude a field. So even though we say we have all of them, because this is down the line, it runs this command and overrides it. So this needs to be exclude. And now if I open up my filter, there we go. So we have product and status. So let's go ahead and customize this. So we're going to create some custom attributes, and we're going to call the first one start _ date. And this is going to be inheriting from date filter. So we're going to do date filter. And then we're going to do field name. So what field name is this actually related to? So we're actually creating a custom input field. So the field name is going to be field _ name. And this is going to be based off of this attribute. So whatever the attribute is, and we can actually customize this name. I won't customize it for now, but now we need to specify the lookup expression. So look up _ expr is equal to, and we want to do the first one because this is the start date. I want to do greater than or equal to, and we could just do greater than, but I want it to be equal to a specific date. So it's a little bit more exact, and I'm going to copy and paste this, and then we're going to set the end date. So the end date is going to be less than or equal to, so L, and same thing. So now if I open up our filter, we're going to see two more attributes. So date created is greater than or equal to, and date created is less than. So if I do, let's go to, let's just start typing in 12. 3 2019. Okay, so that's an exact match because we're saying anything less than that. So if I go one up, this should only give me these four, so it should take out that one item. So there we go. And if I do a less than match, it'll filter it down. So that's how we're able to do date range filters. So let's say I wanted to add in that lookup expression that lets me do a partial search. So there's no attribute right now that allows us to do that because everything is a dropdown because of the relationship. So really quick, I'm going to add a custom attribute here and I'm going to run a migration. So I'm going to say something like note, and we're just going to do this character field. And if you're following along, you could just ignore this, just watch me do this and then custom build this out if you want later. But let's just go ahead and create this field and run a quick migration. Manage.py, make migrations. And we'll just migrate it, and I'm going to change some values really quick. So okay, so I'm also going to put those items out in the table now, and that's going to be in customer.html, and we're going to do so create this field and run a quick migration. Watch me do this and then custom build this out if you want later. But let's just go ahead and create this field and run a quick migration. Manage.py, make migrations. And we'll just migrate it, and I'm going to change some values really quick. So okay, so I'm also going to put those items out in the table now, and that's going to be in customer.html, and we're going to do, instead of category, we're just going to do note, and we'll pass it in right here. So order.note. So I just want to be able to see what's happening here. So by default, we're going to have a none value. So I think I can edit it from here. For some reason that form's not working. We'll get into that later, but let's just go to our admin panel and update this. So admin, and this customer was John Doe Corp. So we'll just find an order created by John Doe, and we'll say hello world, and we'll find one more by John, and we'll just say hello. So if I do that and I customize my filter here, so in my filter, I'm going to run one more import, and I'm going to do, I can just do a comma and then char filter. And you can really customize these attributes. There's a whole lot you can do if you look through the documentation. So the attribute was note, so based off of our model attribute. And we're just going to do, I'm actually going to copy and paste something really quick. So it's just that import.